Hello, everyone. My name is Will McNamara, and in this video, I'm just going to be going over my capstone reflection project for ACE 256 here, our final project. And so, just to start here, I decided to cover why the aspect of coaching is so important to me. So, in my time as an athlete, in general, coaches have made a very, very big impact on why I love hockey so much. Outside of myself and my dad, I mean, my coaches are just the biggest part of the game to me. All the knowledge I have of hockey stems from lessons and things taught to me by my coaches. This goes far outside of playing the game of hockey itself. Things like sportsmanship and, my character have stuck with me just purely based on what these coaches have taught me. And, those are just things I've kept close to my heart through my entire athletic career and up all of my life to this point. And coaches are able to have this direct impact on the lives of their players and can help put them on the right trajectory to live as a successful athlete and a human being. And just being able to have that kind of positive influence on the life of an athlete it's really why I want to become a coach. And, I've seen how coaches can just really just make you love a sport so much and change your life. And kind of just to give back to the game and, care about athletes the way that I was cared about as an athlete by my coaches. It's something I've wanted to do for the longest time. And so the next thing I'm going to highlight here is the coaching philosophy I wrote. It was the second one I read this semester. I did one for another class. And what this did was it really helped me define what coaching and athletics means to me in the context of my life. Things like, the team being greater than the individual, and the definition of success, which in my book is defined by much more than wins and losses. It's more about the effort that your team produces and the kind of culture you build. Those are just some of the things that I was able to cover in that coaching philosophy assignment this semester. The team rules and the code of ethics was another assignment that we had. It was portfolio artifact number 2. And so for this assignment, basically some of the biggest takeaways I had from it were that roles should vary depending on the age group being coached. We had a 10U and I think it was a 17U, 2 different teams for this assignment. And, noticing the differences in the roles was something that stuck out to me. Team roles shaping and aligning with your culture is definitely another thing that I learned and is very important when creating your team roles. And making sure they align with the things that you stated in your coaching philosophy keeps everything consistent. And, it's something very important when creating your team roles. And over the course of a season, it's recommended and it's a good thing probably if your team roles do evolve. Things happen throughout the course of a season and roles may need to change, and that's totally okay. Roles don't need to stay stagnant just because they're the roles. They can be changed. So for the community experience assignment number 1, this was the coaching interview that we had. I chose to interview my current coach, the head coach of the D3 club hockey team here at West Virginia, Rue Pyatt. And he gave me some great insight into just the coaching experience. One of the biggest things I took away from this assignment was just how keeping college level athletes motivated is very different than keeping youth athletes motivated. College kids have a lot more on their plate when it comes to school, their social life, compared to a kid who, he has school and things like that, but not nearly about the amount of responsibility and outside things outside the sport. So it's very different keeping college level athletes motivated. Off-season preparations can kind of make or break how the next season pans out. Rue made it very clear in the interview how things like watching film and just getting a big head start on the season, can go a long way to, how the season starts off. And so Rue also works a job outside of coaching, so he also explained how balancing coaching with another job can take a lot of time management skills, and how for the first year or two where he was working both his normal job and a coach, it was tough for him to make that adjustment at first. So management is something very important. And overall, this assignment was very enjoyable. It was probably my favorite assignment throughout the semester, and it definitely gave me a lot of insight into what it's like actually being a coach. And so the second community experience we did was the coaching, the practice observation, and some of the I was able to view one of the Plum Mustangs off season practices down in Pittsburgh. And some of the biggest takeaways I had from this assignment and this practice were during a practice, especially a hockey practice at an ice rink where it can get kind of loud, how having a very loud voice and that big coaching presence when explaining drills is very important in keeping the kids engaged and making them listen. Peer demonstrations during that practice were pretty much held before every drill. And what that allowed was for the demonstration, since players on the team were demonstrating, the demonstration was at a very similar pace to what the actual speed of the drill should be like. Because at times, depending on the skill level of the coaches, if they're demonstrating a drill, it can be a lot faster or a lot slower than the pace of the actual drill will be when the players do it. And that always comes down to the skill level of the coaches. So it was interesting seeing the players demonstrate a lot of the drills. There was also a lot of one-on-one feedback during the drills. Coaches were constantly pulling players aside to explain something, give them a tip. And there are times where during practices you see coaches wait till the end of the drill or the end of a practice to give that feedback. So I found it very interesting that there was that much one-on-one feedback during the drills. And during all the drills, there was rarely a time where the coaches were standing still. They were always moving around, talking to players, trying to get a different angle on the drill so they could observe it. So that was something else that I noticed during this assignment. The code of neighbor check-ins were something that we did throughout the course of the semester. These were very helpful for retaining past information gathered from class. It was also a very good way to voice any confusion on past content from the class. And it was definitely, I enjoyed the attendance points that we got from doing the code of the neighbor assignments. So some of the biggest class takeaways here, just the coaching process was something that we went over a lot throughout the semester. Performance versus moral character skills was definitely something that I remember throughout the semester. Performance goals being more things that contribute to achieving goals or tasks effectively. And then these moral character skills are more traits that govern ethical behavior. The whole process of goal setting was something we covered and was something that I was, that's something throughout a few classes I've taken here that we've covered, and at this point, it's something that I have pretty much nailed to the back of my mind. And then this experiential learning cycle was another thing that we went over in class that for a while, I believe at one point actually was one of the things I wrote on one of the coded neighbors that I was confused about, but that was definitely something that throughout the course of the semester, I did some more looking at it in my free time actually, and something I learned. Some more class takeaways here. The autocratic versus authoritative approach when interacting with parents, especially problematic ones. That whole unit was very, I enjoyed it a lot because going into this class, that was one of the things that I really had almost no knowledge of, just dealing with parents in general. The achievement goal theory and self-determination theory were two theories we learned throughout the course of this semester in class. And then just overall elements of a good practice and how to have a good practice that flows well was another big takeaway that I had from our class. So when it comes to planning for my future, there were things about this class that I remember that I can definitely use to apply to future situations. Some of those being culture and just how it can make or break a team. Time management being very crucial to how a team flows, whether that comes to, off-season preparations or how you manage your time during a practice to make sure that practice is as effective as possible. Staying true to my own values, like in my coaching philosophy, coming up with rules that align with that philosophy, and just having an overall culture that really aligns with what I believe in. And as I mentioned earlier, winning going far beyond what the score says. It's more judged, in my opinion, by effort given. And, at times, the score isn't always going to dictate how your team performed. So that's definitely something I will always have believed and will believe. And yeah, so that is my capstone reflection project. This was a very enjoyable class this semester, and yeah, I really enjoyed my time taking ACE 256. So that's about it, and thank you.